we're back. This summer we're going to explore the Venetian Lagoon.
The lagoon is the secret of the long story of the Republic of Venice. Today really we will tell you the history of Venice seen from the point of view of the lagoon.
By the way, we have a surprise. Bianca has a little brother, Orlando, and stay tuned because we'll tell you how to travel with small kids and without losing the ability of exploring and traveling itself.
We start exploring the lagoon from a different angle. We will paddle with a kayak and we will see the lagoon from the water. In this video, we will never set foot on Venice, but we will see it from the water. Paddling through the Venice canals is a unique experience. It's a mix of contemplation and fear from other boats that are cruising the little canals and are quite annoyed by some inexperienced kayakers. A destra. Aspetta. The most fearful moment is when we got out, not too far from Piazza San Marco. The waves and the traffic from other boats made it a thrilling moment. This is the Arsenal of Venice, and it's secret because it was the key instrument of its maritime power. The Arsenal is a complex of former shipyards and armories. It was here that the bulk of Venice's naval power was built. And the naval power gave Venice the ability to dominate trade and commerce in the Mediterranean for centuries. We are now paddling with the kayak through the lagoon and exploring its natural side. The islands of Vignole and Sant'Erasmo are rural islands which provided vegetable, fruit and wine to Venice for centuries. The herbs of the lagoon were very important to shape Venice. The salicornia is probably the most important one. It was a source of vitamins and minerals to the people and the sailors of Venice. And its ashes were also important for the process of melting the glass. That's the reason why the island of Murano became worldwide known for its glass making industry. Let's go to Murano then.
We're now in Murano and we're looking for a glass blowing factory. In 1291, Venice decided to move all glass-making laboratories out of Venice and concentrate them in Murano. For two reasons: A, to avoid big fires in the city, and B, to better control the export and protect the secret and intellectual property of the industry. So look at these beautiful colorful houses, and yes, this is one of the main characteristics of Burano. And Burano, alongside Murano, was one of the main production centers of lace. But this is just to show that Venice wasn't only a trading place, but they were also producing goods in here. So enjoy the view! Lace making was perfected by the women in Burano and reached its peak in the 17th century, when even the King of France wanted to wear one of Burano merletti. And as you can see, they also have a leaning tower like in Pisa.
front of Burano lies the old island of Torcello, which is an important stop of our trip. We are in Torcello, one of the most ancient islands in the lagoon. Originally, this was one of the most important cities in the lagoon, and with up to 20,000 inhabitants. That was like when Venice was a little bit more than a village of fishermen. Gradually it declined, and the people from here, they moved to Venice and they started dismantling the city here. And today the only thing that remains almost is this incredible cathedral, which goes back to the Byzantine time.
Murano, Burano and Torcello are part of the touristic and classic sightseeing. But if you do have time, just get off the beaten path. We're now heading towards a little corner of what is called Armenia in the Lagoon. With us, Elena Biancasonti.
We are in San Lazzaro degli Armeni, which is a small island in the lagoon. Since 1717 it was given by Venice to Armenian monks who established here a monastery and one of the most important centers of Armenian culture in the world. And testify the importance of the Armenian culture and the link of the Armenian culture with Venice, which is really ancient. Armenian merchants were in Venice since the beginning and were a really important component of the trade route between Venice and the East and all the places along the Silk Road. Had one of the first typography, and they start printing and translating every book in Armenian. Right now has one of the most important libraries in the world with almost 200,000 books, but especially 4,500 ancient manuscripts. Next destination is another gem of the lagoon. It's the island of Pellestrina. To get there, we need to get to Lido and then take a bus. Now we're waiting for the ferry. Actually, the bus goes on the ferry, and then once it lands, it continues down south to Pellestrina and then south to Chioggia. Pellestrina today is a fishing village and not quite a tourist attraction. Actually, there are really very few tourists here. The few that comes here to eat at the amazing fish restaurant of this island. Pellestrina is 10 kilometers long but just 100 meters wide. The island is vital to protect Venice and the lagoon from the sea. Venetians knew that for centuries and invested heavily here. Pellestrina is famous because of the Murazzi, which is essentially it's an important dam built by the Venetians to protect the lagoon from the erosion of the sea. And actually the dam is built with massive stone imported from Istria. Next to Pellestrina there is Chioggia, on the southern corner of the lagoon. Here in 1379 Venice fought for its own survival against Genoa, Padua and the Hungarians. The Genovese conquered Chioggia and were preparing to attack Venice. All Venetian men were mobilized, but thanks to their superior knowledge, they managed to lock the Genovese fleet in the lagoon, blocking all the escape routes. The Genovese were now encircled, and after a year of fierce fight, they had to surrender. This was the last of the wars between Venice and Genoa, for the dominance of the Mediterranean commerce route. While Venice recovered and thrived for another 400 years, Genoa's political instability and war debt led it to accept French rule.
They're working on the 78th Venice Film Festival, which means that we are at Lido di Venezia. Lido di Venezia is one of the newest islands around the area, and it was built around like the 1800s, and it was one of the main destinations for holiday, pretty much, and it was actually quite in fashion at the time, so it was hosting a lot of aristocrats coming from the rest of Europe. One of the main characteristics of this area is the fact that on the beaches there are not just kind of just the umbrellas to shade you from the sun, but there are like little houses which are really peculiar, and this is typical from this area and also in some other towns up in the north of Europe.
We are going to the sea. Does Bianca swim? Daddy swim. And mommy? Mommy swim.
To be honest, we were able to explore the lagoon thanks to the help of our relatives. This allowed two of us to actually do some extra activities like kayaking, for example. That said, we managed to do some activities with Bianca, for example. While Bianca enjoyed the likes of the boat trip, it would have been actually unpleasant having the 3-month-old Orlando on the ferries on a hot summer days. So if you manage, have some of your families, like your parents or someone that can help you look after the kids every now and then, just to be able to do few things that will make you enjoy the holiday even more. But if your kids are a little bit older, then it's absolutely fine. There's plenty of other things that can be done and enjoyed by the whole family.
We are now coming to an end. Our last stop is the town of Malamocco.
We are in Malamocco, one of the most ancient village in this area, and it dates back to the Roman period. It used to be the port for the Padua city, pretty much because it is situated at the end of the Brenta River.
Throughout this trip, we understood the importance of the lagoon and hope to have passed a bit of this to you. We learned that the lagoon nourished Venice with herbs and food, protected from the sea and invaders, helped Venice in becoming a commerce powerhouse by producing goods to be traded or hosting communities of merchants from distant lands. Venice would not be Venice without the lagoon. And even today, it is key to safeguard the lagoon, not just to preserve Venice's heritage, but also to protect its future.